Good evening, I'm Stephen Moorage. Prime Minister Andy Burnham has said the death of former Cambridge professor Jason Arday was a tragedy on so many levels and it was time for a moment for reflection. Professor Arday, who resigned after a plagiarism row, was pronounced dead after emergency services were called to an address in Battersea, South London on Friday evening, following reports that a man had been found unresponsive inside a property. Following the death of the former Cambridge professor, Jason Arday, some broadcasters, politicians and academics have suggested the public hounding he faced was disproportionate to the accusations he faced of plagiarism of other falsehoods. As STV News correspondent Amy Lewis reports.
Jason Arday described becoming Cambridge's youngest ever black professor as the greatest professional privilege of his life. When he resigned last week, he said relentless accusations and personal attacks had taken a profound toll. Today, the Prime Minister said his death is a tragedy on so many levels.
It's not a moment for any rushing to judgment, it's a moment for reflection, I would say, reflecting on how things came to this. A really sad and sorry state of affairs, and I think we just all today think of Jason, his contribution and his family and friends.
The 41-year-old had denied plagiarism but admitted to some errors in his earlier work. Other parts of his life had also come under scrutiny, claims he had made about charity marathon runs and money he raised.
It hit him really hard. There was a story every 3 hours it felt at one point. So when I spoke to him, he'd lost a lot of weight. He wasn't sleeping. He didn't want to go out of the house. And I'm unfortunately I'm not surprised. I think it really did take a massive toll on him personally.
Mayor of London Sir Sadiq Khan said Arday faced an unacceptable public hounding and campaign of abuse and was the victim of a pernicious public shaming.
Did Jason Arday have questions to answer? Yes, he did have questions to answer, in my opinion. The way this discussion has been covered over the past couple of weeks has been disproportionate, in my view, for what Jason is alleged to have done. There are many academics who have had plagiarism accusations levelled to them. I cannot think of one that has ended in this way.
Jason Arday's family claim a campaign of misinformation had been too much for a gentle man who had always wanted to see the best in everyone. Amy Lewis, ITV News.
Andy Burnham said the government has a long way to go to build back trust with farmers following a row over an inheritance tax changes proposed under Keir Starmer's leadership. During a visit to a farm near Truro in Cornwall on Saturday as part of a national tour to discuss the cost of living, the Prime Minister added that the UK needs to guarantee our own food production going forward. But with farmers struggling to keep going during this summer's drought, Andy Burnham has attempted to build bridges following a fallout with the previous government, as Tom Sheldrick reports.
It's a classic summertime scene until you spot the parched neighbouring fields and hear of a harvest that's likely to be the worst on record. At this farm in Buckinghamshire, there's simply not been enough rain for the crops to grow fully, so yields are down.
We're standing in a spring wheat crop at the minute. This would roughly give us about 6 or 7 tonne a hectare. This year we're lucky to get 2 tonne a hectare from it. So it's a huge blow. And on top of that, we've had fuel increase prices of about a third. Our fertiliser prices have increased a third. So it's a real struggle to keep going in these conditions.
Meanwhile in Cornwall, the potatoes are smaller than usual.
You should make this an Olympic sport, I think.
The Prime Minister got involved in the sorting process while visiting a farm this morning.
I think it's probably been the hardest summer for British farming in a generation. So many challenges for those in arable farming, livestock farming, doing a mixture of the two. On every front they can see challenges. So it's really important that I'm here and I'm listening and announcing some help in these difficult times.
That includes £50 million for environmental grants, £15 million to help build reservoirs on farms, and relaxed rules like allowing livestock to graze in protected fields.
and they're producing the food for the country.
Yeah.
The head of the National Farmers Union was with the PM earlier and warned more support will be needed.
It's a really welcome start, but it can only be the start because of the crisis that is facing farmers right the way across the United Kingdom with the drought that is ongoing at the moment, the worst drought in 50 years.
Over the last couple of years, there have been big protests against Keir Starmer's government imposing inheritance tax on farms, a policy eventually watered down. Andy Burnham admitted today that he and Labour have got a lot more work to do to win back the trust of farmers. Tom Sheldrick, ITV News.
Well, in other news, Prime Minister Andy Burnham will look at issues ignored by Westminster for too long during the second week of his summer tour of the UK. These include issues ending rough sleeping and resolving the toxic dump, fly tipping and an environmental vandalism scandal. Mr Burnham will also be at number 10 North during the week, making a month since it was established. Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon had killed at least 11 people in the deadliest attack since a Perseus truce went into effect on June 20th. Lebanon's health ministry and state news agency said one of the airstrikes that targeted a home on the edge of the village of Ansar killed 7 people, including 3 children, and wounded 2. The second on the village of Deir al-Zahrani killed 4 and wounded 17. A body has been found in the search for an 18-year-old British man who went missing while hiking in Romania, police have said. George Smith, a geology student from Bristol, went missing in November last year. On Saturday, Avon and Somerset police said a body had been found in the Busegi mountain region of the country and is to believe that of Smith. And at least 40 people have died after a powerful magnitude earthquake of 7.7 struck off the coast of Indonesia earlier on Saturday, collapsing buildings and homes. An additional 50 people were taken to local hospitals with injuries, while more than 2,000 villagers in the country's Negeko Regency were forced to flee their homes to temporary shelters. And finally, hundreds of people have lined the streets in Mumbles to pay tribute to Bonnie Tyler as her hearse is driven to her home. The total eclipse of my heart singer, born at Gaynor Hopkins, died in a Portuguese hospital on July 8th at the age of 75. On Saturday, August 15th, members of the public lined Newton Road in Mumbles as the cortege travels from William Presti Funeral Care in Mumbles, returning to her home in Lundawai. I know I haven't said that right. Some fans had travelled as far as from Austria to watch the procession pass through Mumbles, as well as lining the streets. Some fans were waiting outside her home on Mumbles Road, with floral tributes laid outside the property. Let's take a look now.
As Bonnie Tyler was brought home, there was no silence, but instead applause and an outpouring of love. Hundreds here to honour her memory, her music and her love for Mumbles.
So she's a Mumbles girl, isn't she? And she's part of us, really, isn't she? And I didn't know her, but she was around when I was around as a child.
We all can't forget how really down to earth she was, proud to be Welsh. She was a really, really lovely person.
I grew up just up the road and, Bonnie's been there all the time. And although now I live in Tenby, I just felt I had to come back home and just pay my respects.
But it wasn't just locals who decided to pay their respects. Some travelled across the Atlantic to be here.
I flew in from New York City. I live in Manhattan, and I'm here because I'm one of the biggest Bonnie Tyler fans. I've been a Bonnie Tyler fan since 1978. If you've ever met her too, she's just the most down-to-earth woman that you'll ever meet, and probably a lot of that is from this town behind me.
Across the world, she was known as Bonnie Tyler, an 80s icon with hits such as Total Eclipse of the Heart and Holding Out for a Hero. But here in her hometown of Mumbles, she was simply known as our Gaynor, somebody who was an important pillar of the community and never forgot where she came from.
So every Christmas we had to go there, had to go around to her house. It was all the locals and her friends and locals used to go Christmas morning. So that was lovely. That was a good start to Christmas.
The partial eclipse earlier this week was a moment in time that many here in Wales won't forget. But Bonnie Tyler's total eclipse is woven into the fabric of life. A timeless classic, very much like the singer herself. Katia Fowler, ITV News, Mumbles.
What a life, what a career. We will deeply miss her. That is it from tonight on that is it this evening from us here on the Weekend Tea Time. We will be back again at 10 o'clock with your late news. But from me and all of the team, good night.